This is the Geoffrey and Richie Show. All sports, all talk.
Hello there, and welcome to the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show. I am Richie Benno. Thanks for tuning in. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Geoffrey Boycott. Good morning, Geoffrey.
This is Air Force One coming into land, just asking for clearance.
Charlie, Victor, Victor.
Good morning, Richie. Good morning, everybody.
How the devil are you?
Well, I feel I should kind of clarify why I did that hilarious piece of improvisation. Basically, we're separate, but as one. I've got the headphones on. I feel like an idiot, and indeed, hence the reference to an air pilot. Here I am. Good. I'm fine.
Very good. Very well explained, and I'm pleased you got to the bottom of it. Yes, I'm okay. Thank you.
Well, you're not really, are you? Let's be honest to the listeners. They deserve it.
But do you want me to be really honest with the listeners?
No.
Be graphically honest with the listeners.
I think you just need to say that you're not feeling on top form, hence the slightly delayed show.
Yes. And the fact that I'm quarantined, and therefore we are not in the same place conducting this week's show. There's
also the possibility that at any stage during this, however long the show ends up being, that Richie could well disappear, and I will be left to attempt to hold the show together until he returns.
This is possible. This is very possible. But you know, judging by what's happened in the last 48 hours, you might need to drag it out for a good 15, 20 minutes.
I'm not sure I can do that.
If that scenario occurs. But I will try my very best. I'm wearing one of my son's nappies, and hopefully that will see me through.
That's what they wanted to hear.
It really is, isn't it? It really is. I'll leave you with that thought regarding my health, and maybe we'll move on to talk about some sport. What do you think?
Shall we?
Yeah, let's start with the footy. In fact, let's start with the Premiership. In fact, the Premier League even. Let's start with last weekend's Premier League results.
Okay.
Hey, talk to me.
Well, it was a pretty decent weekend. Although, whenever we do the football roundup, it does seem to me as though, when I look back at the scores, it seems like the games were an absolute eternity ago. Yeah. But from what I can gather, last Saturday, Arsenal beat Sunderland 2-0. Can you remember that?
I do remember that, yeah. I believe, unfortunately, Bentner scored.
Oh, yeah, Fabregas in the last minute as well.
Yeah.
One of those games where we'd expect them to win it, and indeed they did. The shock of the weekend definitely occurred at Goodison, where Everton turned over Manchester United, much to my glee to an extent, but obviously they are Liverpool's rivals, so it's tough.
Tough one for you, really. But then, I suppose as a Liverpool fan, you never want United to do well. Let's be honest. But you know, at Goodison, sure, well, yeah, tricky.
It was a tough one. I saw a bit of that game, and to be honest, Everton played very, very well. United took the lead with a cracking Berbatov, basically trap and shot in an instant, which is a decent finish. But yeah, Everton were well worth the 3 points. So yeah, that was a surprise. Then your team did the business.
Didn't we just?
Do you want to talk about that at all?
Well, to be honest with you, I've got nothing but positive things to say, and yeah, I was so delighted. I got a text about 4:20 from Mansa just saying, you know, yes, that's
it.
I assumed that was the second goal, but yeah, for it to finish up with 3-0, very conclusive and just massive. They're the big games, you know. Birmingham, Hull. Okay, Birmingham are doing well, but you know, if we beat those teams around us, then, you know, we will do well. And, you know, things is so tight down there that, you know, we should put a couple of wins together, 2 or 3 wins, and I'm not saying we're out of it at all, but suddenly we're up to, you know, 13th, and, you know, a couple more wins and we'll be top half, and it's a bit...
A couple more wins, top 4?
Absolutely.
One more and you're champions.
To be honest with you, if you listen to the previous owners, that's exactly what they would have said. But I'd like to think that Sullivan and Gold are a little bit more down to earth and realistic in their ambitions. But no, it was an absolute top win. But yeah, and then I mean, moving on to the Sunday. Sorry to steal your role a little bit. But
all right.
Well, I didn't see the City Liverpool game. It wasn't actually televised, was it?
No, and by all accounts, that is good news for all.
I did listen to it. I was travelling back from a family engagement on Sunday afternoon. I listened to the whole thing on the radio, and they couldn't have been more scathing about what a terrible encounter it was, and how dull it was. And if these are the teams that are going for fourth, then it's an indictment on the Premier League. Blah blah blah. I mean, I thought
Well, they can stick that up their ears for one.
I'm glad you said that, because you can't really judge them on Liverpool have put a very decent run today. I can say this from an impartial point of view. If you said it, you'd sound completely biased and red is in the blood and all that. But you put a decent run together the last 10 games, something like that. And okay, you're going to come. I wouldn't say you come unstuck. You come away from a poor performance and got a point. I don't think there's any disgrace in getting a point at City. Yeah, okay, they're struggling a little bit, but I don't think there's any disgrace for you going there and getting a point.
No, indeed. I mean, Manchester City are obviously a very good side. Okay, they're going through a bit of a difficult patch at the moment, but I think any side would come away from Manchester City with a draw. That they would be relatively pleased with that. I mean, certainly, given the season Liverpool have had, I think Benitez would have been, relatively okay with that result. Okay, the game wasn't good, but you have to keep bearing in mind, this is without Fernando Torres. Okay, that there was one shining light in that he came on for the last 15-20 minutes, but that's because of an injury to Ngog, and Ngog ultimately has been our Torres for the last 6 to 8 weeks, and given that during that time we have turned our fortunes around and we are playing relatively well, we've strung together a decent run of wins, or results, I say, rather than wins. That isn't too bad. I mean, okay, in terms of the money Manchester City have thrown at their squad, I guess you'd expect a little bit more. But for Liverpool, I think that was a decent enough result. I would have taken that most definitely. And then there was obviously the Wigan Spurs game. When I say obviously, I don't know whether you realise that. I mean, I probably wouldn't have done had I not checked the results.
Don't do yourself down like that. I know you're keeping abreast on not everything that goes on in the sports show. Stop it. Stop it, charade.
So that was obviously a decent win for Spurs. But given when Spurs played them at home, didn't they win 9-1? Is that the?
It was the 9-1er.
Yeah. So I suppose in that respect, Wigan did reasonably okay.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, Dean, I thought, I mean, we both, neither of us picked the away win. Got to say, actually, I picked a home win. We spoke last week about how Spurs have struggled a little bit, but they went up there, did the business, and then obviously, did the business in the cup during the week as well. So maybe they've kind of turned it around a little bit. But yeah, that was an important result for Tottenham. It really, really was. Particularly with earlier in the day, Villa, spanking Burnley.
Yeah, that was another good game, actually. I caught a fair bit of that, and Burnley just capitulated.
Yeah. I think they're in trouble. I think they're in trouble. I think both. To be honest with you, I don't think it would have mattered which club that Owen Coyle would have been at come the end of the season. I think he would have got relegated with either, because I think they'll both go down.
Geoffrey and Richie.
If you'd like to download the full version of the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show, including more football talk, a comprehensive cricket roundup, and also the winners and losers of the past 7 days of sport, go to iTunes. We are the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show. You can also check out our blog. It's www.geoffreyandrichie.libsyn.com. Please also email us. Our email address is geoffreyandrichie@hotmail.co.uk. We are on Facebook, and we're also on Twitter too. The username is G&R_podcast.
This is the Geoffrey and Richie Show. All sports, all talk.